So back when I was really into message boards and film, reviewers and film buffs, like film buff clubs and groups and stuff, um, there was always these discussions about M. Night Shyamalan and Andrzej Żuławski, and how both filmmakers were kind of known for their renegade approaches to filmmaking. And I do have to say that both filmmakers are comparable in their own odd ways. I've only seen about 4 of Żuławski's films, but I like all 4 of them. I've seen The Devil, and that was good. That was super intense, but confidently made, very clear, aggressive tone. Obviously, a passionate filmmaking approach and style with these acting performances that come across as super frenzied and emotional. And so as far as like that movie goes, I really appreciated what Żuławski's sensibility brought to that particular story. As 70s films tend to strike a chord with me more than most films. It's 60s and 70s movies specifically. Those 2 decades tend to strike a chord with me more than most decades do. But The Devil, Diabel. I mean, depending on, because he's a Polish filmmaker, depending on which language you speak, I would definitely say is excellent. The second one I saw was Third Part of the Night. I don't remember that one nearly as well, but I think that was probably my favorite. I remember the experience of it being exacting, ferocious, hyper intense, super disgusting, but also thoughtful, meaningful. I mean, it's about the Nazi occupation, so there's a lot of context and baggage attached to it, and you can feel it when you're watching it. And I just appreciate when movies can really strike at the human core of things, even if it's done in a way that's really off-putting and hard to endure. And then I did see the infamous Isabella Gianni, Sam Neill picture that he did there, Possession. I did see that one. I saw it kind of around the same time as The Brood, like around sort of the same sort of, I think, month. And so, and I know that both films tend to get compared to each other a lot, but I do admittedly have some trouble recalling which events happened in which film. So Possession is definitely one that I need to rewatch, but I do remember liking it. I think the performances in particular were what struck me in that one. But again, it's a singular movie in a lot of ways. All of his films are quite singular, and that one is no exception whatsoever. There were definitely a lot of like striking images that I distinctly recall as being kind of a branding on the brain. It just, the images that you just can't forget about, really. And then I do own the caveman movie that, I guess it's not a caveman, but I haven't seen it, but Zamaka. Well, I forget how it's pronounced, but I do own that one, but I haven't watched it yet. I also own The Most Important Thing is Love. I believe I have that one. Again, I haven't watched it. I want to see the Cosmos one that he did, but I haven't. But that one apparently is pretty offbeat, even for what he typically does. So, but I'll get around to that one. But the last film of his I saw, and I rewatched it actually just a couple months ago with my dad in the new restoration, the On the Silver Globe picture, which I found frustrating to untangle in a lot of ways, because it was filmed in the 70s, and yet structurally the whole picture is compromised, and so it's difficult to sort of obtain. It's difficult to form an objective view on the picture, because technically the film is unfinished, and the way it's sort of presented is questionable. It actually sort of ensures that you get pushed out of the film and sort of more enter the director's mindset when he made it, which I guess is fair because it is a political film, but it certainly is not the Żuławski film that I would start with. I would say out of all of his pictures, I can definitely understand how that one could be considered the most divisive. So, now that I've talked about that, I have to connect this to the dismissal that I had over The Last Airbender, the Last Airbender by M. Night Shyamalan, because I actually think that in some ways that film reminds me of On the Silver Globe. Both visions I feel were compromised, although I think M. Night Shyamalan is less aware of how compromised his vision is, because he was the one who compromised his own vision. But having said that, I actually don't hate that movie. I mean, I don't really hate any movie, to be honest, but I mean, there are movies that I can't stand, and I will talk about those, because I can think of at least 2 of his films right now off the top of my head that I can't stand. But I would say that The Last Airbender does at least do some things differently in a way that I appreciated as far as filmmaking goes. And maybe it wasn't for the best, but I like the fact that he tried something, I guess is what I would say, if that makes sense. Like, he adapted something in a way that was unorthodox and didn't really invite a whole lot to the table as far as how strong the source material is. And that's probably the most frustrating thing about it, is how much of a total missed opportunity it is in every way. But I still don't dislike the film. But when I look at M. Night Shyamalan's movies, one could argue that he sort of self-compromised a lot of his pictures in some ways. But when I look through his filmography, let's see, we got Praying with Anger, which I have watched. But the version I watched was so degraded that I really couldn't make heads or tails of the quality of the film itself. It seemed like it might have been a good movie. It was hard to immerse myself in it, because the quality of the version that I watched was just next to nothing. I'll just put it that way. I never saw Wide Awake, although I've always been curious about it. And then The Sixth Sense, definitely a masterful film in many ways. I think both Haley Joel Osment and Toni Collette completely carry the film on their own sort of shaky shoulders. Both of them feel like they're ready to fall apart in almost every scene, and that's kind of why both those characters complement each other really well. But Bruce Willis probably gives some of his best dramatic work, unless you count Color of Night. I mean, I do like a lot of Bruce Willis films, I have to admit. And I have enjoyed many of his performances. I don't even dislike Bonfire of the Vanities. But anyway, getting back into The Sixth Sense, or getting back into M. Night Shyamalan, actually. Because I don't need to talk about The Sixth Sense. Everybody loves that movie. But Unbreakable, I don't dislike that film, but it is in some ways the film that I have the most problems with. And really most of my problems with it have to do with just the way it ends, and how in hindsight it sort of makes the whole film sort of frustrating and feel a bit anticlimactic. But I do like the fact that it's kind of a more socially oriented type of supernatural comic book. Well, maybe not comic book, but comic book themed film. So I'll give it credit for that, and the fact that it kind of opened the doors for more kinds of genre storytelling in the mainstream. I don't think people give it enough credit for those aspects. And I know a lot of people dislike that movie. I know that I remember watching it with my mom. My mom disliked it. I remember watching it with, several different friends of mine who have disliked it. It's not an easy movie to like, but I do think that Unbreakable has some strong qualities that almost make up for the way it completely falls apart in the final act. When he gets into that sort of situation where he has to kind of deal with that, a villain, I guess you could say, not the villain, but a villain type of character, without spoiling it. I feel like the buildup in that scene to what the film is going to lead to after that, that was such a dark turn. It was such a dark twist, and I was hoping that the film would figure out a way to really bring meaning to it in its climax, and instead it ended up being about just one character's madness, and that just doesn't work for me, ultimately. But whatever. And then Signs, I've only seen it once, but I did enjoy it. I did like it. I did like the whole supernatural, religious, spiritual theme. I do like the character arc. I thought Mel Gibson did a great job. I usually enjoy most of Mel Gibson's performances, and that's certainly no exception, I would say. And then just as far as being, I guess, an experience, like as far as being kind of like a invasion picture and, what it ends up being about. I mean, even though the ending does have its weird problems, it worked for me in some ways more than Unbreakable, even though it didn't do as much, I guess you could say. The Village, I think I appreciate the idea of it. I appreciate the message. I appreciate the angle of it. I feel like the ending was a bit predictable, but in the end, I don't dislike that movie. I can enjoy it, and I can appreciate the approach. I think it's taken me time to love The Village, but I think I can accept the fact that I love it ultimately. So, Lady in the Water, I didn't see all of it. I missed the first 20 minutes, and the problem is that when I come into a movie not from the beginning, it's really hard for me to follow it, because I always feel like I've missed something. Even if I haven't missed anything, I always feel like I've missed something, and so I couldn't get into it, and I didn't end up being able to finish it, really. I think one of my sisters was watching it, and I tried, but I think I need to watch it from the beginning. So I'm going to get back to that one. What I saw looked all right. The Happening, I don't understand that movie. It's creepy. The idea is super scary, honestly, and it creeps me out to really think about, but I didn't understand the message. I didn't understand the thing. I just didn't understand I didn't understand the character's behavior, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I just got so lost with it that I gave up. Last Airbender, I think I've elaborated on enough. It's too busy, and at the same time, it's not busy enough. It doesn't take its time. It doesn't have any of the grace of the show, and that's really about all I can say. After Earth, I think it was the Will Smith, Jaden Smith film. I think I saw part of that, but didn't look super compelling. Again, I think I probably just need to watch that one from the beginning, because I can get into a good crazy sci-fi movie if I know what's going on, at least. So, The Visit, I could not stand, and I don't think I finished that one either. And I started it from the beginning, and I think I was like, I can't do this one. Sorry. I don't know. I for the first 30 years of my life, actually, I'll give myself credit. For the first like 32 years of my life, I almost never gave up on a movie. If I started it from the beginning, but that one I did. So, and maybe one day I'll give it another shot, but nothing about the style of it connected with me. Let's see. Split. I don't think I saw that one, actually. Okay, so I missed that one. I missed Split. But I did watch Glass, and I don't know, maybe I need to watch Split before I watch Glass to understand what on earth that was all about, but I didn't enjoy or appreciate really much of that one. I'll just leave it at that. What else has he made here? Yeah, I didn't see Old, and I did not see... What else has he made? I didn't see Knock at the Cabin. I think I started watching Trap, and it creeped me out too much, and I turned it off, because I was just like, all right, Josh Hartnett. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I can do this. So, yeah, M. Night Shyamalan, he doesn't quite click with me. I'd say Andrzej Żuławski, he clicks with me more, but I think if I were in the wrong mood, I would hate his films intensely. I guess that's all I would have to say about the two of them. So I guess in the end, I prefer Żuławski. R.I.P., of course. I definitely need to watch more of his films, and I guess I need to watch more of M. Night Shyamalan's films too. So some of these sound interesting. I mean, I haven't kept up with his work, so, but yeah, I think what he needs to do is, I think he needs to try to embrace his more spiritual kind of themes a little bit more. I think he acknowledges them, but he doesn't really dive into them in the same way. Like, I feel like Signs, he had something interesting to say there. You know, Unbreakable, I feel like there was something there. The Village, some good ideas. I think he just needs to try and be a little bit more bare with his emotions and with his thoughts and introspections and feelings. I feel like there's something at the heart of The Happening that he's burning to say, but I am at a loss for words as to what that was. I don't know. So I guess that's about what I would have to say about the two of them. So, and if anybody would like me to elaborate more on any of these films, I guess just let me know. All right. Good night.